Hey, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk about the news that have come out of Microsoft Ignite 2023 that pertain to security, compliance, and identity. There was a raft of news coming into our platform, so I'd like to take the time to go through some specific pieces of news and also specific files and pages on the web that actually help us navigate all throughout these announcements. Okay, let's dive in. First off, I will recommend you get started on the Book of News. This is a public page that contains all the news from Ignite, from all domains, not just security, right? So this includes all domains such as when I go into table of contents, you can see the amount and the coverage that this goes through, right? So it goes from Azure all the way to developer news, announcements related to Edge, Microsoft 365, Security Copilot, and as you can see here, or Microsoft Copilot, as you can see, it's a very long list of Microsoft Copilot announcements. My perspective, this has been the Copilot Ignite. As I scroll down here, we can see, of course, the security field as well. So if I click on 7 here, I'm going to be taken to that section there, as you can see. And we can start seeing the summaries of the announcements here for security. So these announcements are very concentrated. They are very specific ways to talk about what's been announced. They're good at a high level, but as a next step, what I'll do is go through other specific blog posts and announcements that go deep into each one of them. All right, so the first one here is actually something quite important to me. Microsoft has announced that they are rebranding Microsoft 365 Defender to Microsoft Defender XDR. This is a good name change. This is just going to make it a lot easier for us to make it clearer to, of course, SOC teams and, of course, customers when we're explaining what sort of portal they're looking at. Good to see here this change. Next up is Microsoft Defender XDR and Sentinel combined as one portal and one experience for the SOC. This here is very interesting. This is in private preview, as you can see here on screen. And it just highlights how Microsoft is really investing in the integration of all these different platforms for the SOC and making it a lot easier for the SOC to consume and, of course, to investigate on these platforms. So really, really important here announcement for us. Next up, embedded Microsoft Security Copilot. This here is, well, Security Copilot has been in the early access program for a little while, but what this is announcing is how that experience is going to surface to SOC analysts, essentially telling us that customers that utilize this unified SOC platform will benefit from having this generative AI, which is Security Copilot, tool as part of that same experience for the analyst as well. So there are very good screenshots at the moment that I can refer you to, and we're going to have a look soon as well at what that looks like. Again, this is still in early access. Next up is a very important one. Microsoft is proactively releasing ways to optimize your SIEM and SOC deployment. So this here are recommendations that Microsoft will provide to customers to help customers save money on their deployment, improve their coverage, and better secure themselves against specific threats. So it's in private preview, I must state again or as well, but this is going to look at log sources and what log sources you're getting the most value out of. And as a SOC, this is really important. Okay, the next one is something I'm really excited about. I talked to my customers about XDR and how important it is to have one portal with all your different indications of potential compromise from endpoints, emails, cloud applications, identity. But now what we're announcing here is essentially the integration of cloud workload alerts, signals, and asset information from Defender for Cloud into the XDR platform that we have, right? So that's really important for better correlation and cross-domain attack investigation there for your SOC team. So this is very powerful, very interesting set of news here for the platform. And again, this is in preview. This next one is about a new capability within the Defender XDR platform, you're going to have the ability to enable a feature also in preview, but you're going to have the ability to enable a feature that essentially deploys decoys in your environment. So this has a very nice way to represent this in a blog post. I'm going to fetch this in a few minutes. This is going to look awesome in your environment because it essentially fakes specific credentials or fakes data that is interesting for attackers. And if they start utilizing some of that data to try and move laterally or to try and log into a remote desktop, utilizing those fake credentials, you get an alert, right? So just a great way to create fake credentials that are easy for them to find, that creates high fidelity alerts for your team to understand that there is someone malicious in your network, right? So very exciting piece of news there. And this one is related to Defender for Cloud Apps. Now there is a specific, there's a raft of news here, part of this paragraph here, but there is a component over here that's the Defender for Cloud Apps, which now can extend the discovery capability for more than 400 large language model apps. So it can better highlight what kind of users or what services your users are utilizing that are of this range of cloud applications. But there is also there has been a raft of announcements as well around purview data loss prevention, right? And how we can prevent users from pasting sensitive data to specific websites. And this is in preview as well, naturally. Next up, let's have a look at the Defender for Cloud announcements. Defender for Cloud customers will soon be able to see the permission creep index from Entra permissions management in the portal. So it's a centralized view of that permission creep index, a fundamental metric that Entra permissions management allows our customers to have visibility of now as part of your Defender for Cloud environment there. So that's really important here, especially to provide insights to improve your cloud security posture. So that integration is fundamental. This is in preview as well. Next up, DevOps security insights across GitHub and Azure DevOps and GitLab available in Defender for Cloud. And now Defender for Cloud essentially supported these three major developer platforms currently in preview as well, as you can see here, but they're all supported by Defender for Cloud. And that is very exciting news there for DevSecOps discussions and programs within your organization. So this piece of news here pertains to the expansion of Defender CSPM capabilities for essentially containers in Amazon and in Google Kubernetes engine, right? So EKS, Amazon EKS, and Google GKE will be supported as well for visibility within Defender CSPM, contextualized graph-based alerting in your platform. So something really interesting there for Defender CSPM customers with multi-cloud deployments. Next up, this here is really important. So a few months back, Microsoft announced Defender CSPM with the attack path capability. Now it's announcing proactive or a better way for you to filter out those attack paths alerts, essentially providing a way to prioritize based on risk-based recommendation, which is an enhanced attack path analysis, alerting for your team to prioritize remediation of more complex risks in a cross-cloud attack paths environments. There's also a new code to cloud mapping that, of course, that will help administrators there understand how to better fix flaws in your environment and even in the code. And there is also a ServiceNow integration to enable admins on their existing system to automate and drive mitigation of risks. Everything in preview. There has also been the announcement of the improved API security posture. That's the general availability of Microsoft, or rather Defender for APIs plan within Defender for Cloud. This had been in preview for a few months. Now it's at least public preview there for everyone to try out. So what that allows customers to do is to gain visibility of business critical APIs, prioritize vulnerability fixes, and quickly detect active real-time threats for APIs published in Azure APIM. That's important, right? Currently Azure APIM there. This is in preview there are new preview capabilities targeting sensitive data classification as well within API, powered by Microsoft Purview, and a curated attack paths will help security admins further safeguard data from API risks. So exciting announcements there for API security. And lastly, the Microsoft Security Copilot in Defender for Cloud. So that's a great announcement. So security administrators will be able to gain efficiency by essentially discovering and remediating risks with AI, with the power of AI-generated guidance, essentially. So this is really exciting because Security Copilot has essentially been announced for a few months, and now we're seeing it already expand its capabilities for a lot of the Microsoft security stack here. Shifting gears a little bit, now going into Entra. I've already mentioned one of the piece of news here for Entra, which is the integration of Entra Permissions Management and Defender for Cloud. That's awesome. And there's also been the announcement of the integration with ServiceNow, which essentially customers can now request time-bound or on-demand permissions for multi-cloud environments such as Azure, AWS, and GCP via the ServiceNow portal. So it helps customers move into a zero trust kind of environment by enforcing the principle of least privilege across these multi-cloud environments. So these updates are generally available. So that's a great piece of news here. Next up, Entra access. So internet access and private access news. So Microsoft essentially announcing here the expansion of preview capabilities within internet access that include context-aware secure web gateway capabilities for all internet applications and resources. Great piece of news there available for customers. And also for private access, the extension of preview capabilities for private access will help make private access fully ready for traditional VPN replacement, which is a great piece of news, essentially putting it up to pair for more enterprise environment. And that's still preview, right? So that's all great, a piece of news. Particularly looking at internet access capabilities, coming soon to preview will include universal conditional access. So what that means is any internet endpoint from managed devices and networks will be able to access policies in any one place, right? So users will be able to extend adaptive access controls universally and rely on conditional access to any network destination, such as an external website or non-federated SaaS applications, without the need to change these applications. We also have token theft protection for Entra ID apps through compliant network check-in conditional access. So with this control here, essentially users or customers will be able to ensure that Entra ID protected applications will mitigate token replay, essentially, right? So they will protect against token theft and ensure users do not bypass network security policies on their tenants, right? So that's very important there. So source IP restoration is important in order for conditional access policies to be maintained when utilizing internet access, right? So this is essentially the announcement that internet access will offer this compatibility of trusted location checks in conditional access and continuous access evaluation by utilizing essentially the source or maintaining the original source IP in requests. So this is really important, therefore, conditional access policies that are utilizing trusted locations. So the next one is the availability of the secure web gateway capabilities based on context. So essentially allowing us to filter web content, be that URL, fully qualified domain name, or web category based on conditional access signals. So this, which could be user centric or device or even location aware centric policies from conditional access. So just extending the capability of filtering those specific URL, fully qualified domain names, or web category based on conditional access awareness there. Microsoft also announced the ability to protect data exfiltration through universal tenant restriction, essentially preventing anonymous access for Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. And this extends or improves better and flexible deployment options for Microsoft 365 scenarios with third-party SSC vendors. Now, shifting gears a little bit to private access capabilities. Private access has had for a little while now a raft of capabilities already, but now, of course, we need to expand that, and the expansion capabilities have come through. Particularly interesting here for me, of course, the VPN replacement capability. So now extended protocol support for private application access, and in addition to TCP, UDP support along with private DNS support will be provided. So greatly extend capabilities from beyond TCP, which had been available for a little while now in public preview, but now extending to UDP alongside with DNS support. So that's great news, right? And so essentially what this is telling us is that these enhancements will enable customers to transition from their traditional VPN deployments to fully ready identity-centric zero trust network access solution from Microsoft. So that's great news here. And also the capability for MFA to be extended to on-premise applications. So essentially conditional access controls and modern authentication methods such as MFA will be able to secure private applications and resources as well. So that's awesome to hear. And lastly, on Entra access, internet and private access, essentially Microsoft is stating here that both will have cross-OS clients. It's great news. Availability has been limited on current version, but also the increased global presence with more points of presence, therefore improved latency, reduced latency, and improved performance, therefore users accessing their applications through that back-end platform. So great piece of news there for Entra access. Next up, Entra ID. There are a few important features here that are generally available, as you can see here on the document. These are generally available features, such as Microsoft managed conditional access policies. So Microsoft has begun rolling out automatically enroll customers into conditional access policies based on their risk signals, current usage, and licensing. Right, so that's just to increase the adoption of secure controls, but also to reduce the complexity of managing conditional access there for all customers. Now, there are a few particularities, specifically if you have admin accounts, and this has all been documented by Microsoft. So if you have any questions on that, of course, you can find the official document online there for you as well. So that's pretty helpful. Next up, Microsoft Entra certificate-based authentication. Essentially, there are new features to improve the posture of customers utilizing certificate-based authentication with Entra there. So these enhancements will enable customers to customize authentication policies based on certificates, resource type, and user group, right? Essentially allowing customers to have more flexibility to choose more certificate strengths for different users and combine CBA with other methods for multi-factor authentication or step-up authentication and configure authentication strength, tenant-wide or by user group. So that's really exciting there. And lastly here, Microsoft announced that in early 2024, Microsoft Entra ID users will be able to sign in with passkeys managed by Microsoft Authenticator app. This is really important piece of news here that hasn't been given the proper headspace that I think it should have, because passkeys are just fundamental piece of ways to authenticate that is modern and also very security centric. So having that embedded into Microsoft Authenticator app, it's just really important, right? So with passkeys, essentially customers have an additional phish resistant credential based on open standards there for you to use. I hope you found that informative. There have been a few pieces of announcements that I've left out at the very end for purview, but I hope you can forgive me. It's been a very long video, as you can see, but also you can find all of the rest of the information on the links in the description. Make sure you do, and if you find anything that is worth covering and that you have questions for, leave a comment. I'll be more than glad to actually talk to you over comment, but also to perhaps dive deeper in a future video. If you do like this kind of video, of course, subscribe to my channel. And of course, if you appreciate this sort of content, leave a like as well. Otherwise, see you next time.